mystery writers. This is Write a Killer Mystery, where we learn to make great mysteries really great. And I'm Zara Altair, and today I want to talk about mastering plot lines, because you have one story and many plot lines. So adding depth to your story makes it more interesting to your readers. It's easy when you're first starting out to focus on your mystery's main plot: who did it, the sleuth's discovery quest, and the final reveal. But when you add dimension to your story with subplots, you create many stories within your mystery. And without that added breadth of plots, your story can feel flat. Or if you're just focused on that one main plot, it can start to feel bloated and not feel like it's going anywhere, because you spend so much time adding elements to your main story. And the website Writers Helping Writers suggests that you have a minimum of 3 plot lines in your story. So, well, that can feel really overwhelming when you're just getting started writing, because you feel like, what? I have to write 3 different novels? No. These plot lines run adjacent to the main plot line, but they just add breadth. So you want to think of ways where you can augment the main story through the supporting characters and your protagonist. So, plotline ideas, I wanted to talk about several of them today. So how do you expand on your central story? And for mystery writers, that's like, discovering who did it and revealing them at the end of the story. But here's some ideas to get your creative juices going. Your first plot line is what is called your sleuth's outer journey. That's like this murder happens, your sleuth sets out to discover who did it, interview suspects, he looks at clues, blah, blah, blah. But in order to add some more depth to your novel, you can expand on that outer journey. So one of the first things you can do is look at your sleuth's inner journey. So there's something in your sleuth's background that leads them to an ongoing struggle. It could be living up to a parent's reputation, or a privileged life makes them uncomfortable with the poor, or it can be an addiction. Use this with caution. There's just so many mystery stories with a sleuth with an addiction that it's very overused, so be cautious about that. It could be something as simple as their physical size. So your sleuth may have a short stature and always feel, kind of intimidated because it seems like everybody is taller and bigger than your sleuth, or vice versa. Your sleuth is a really, say it's a tall woman and she just towers over most of the people that she mates, so she may be uncomfortable with her stature. Anyway, the inner journey is they have to deal with this thing on an ongoing basis throughout your story. So that one pits the inner struggle of the sleuth against the outer struggle, which is the main storyline of your mystery. And then another plot line that's very, very common is relationships, and that can be a love interest, which is very common, but you don't need to limit yourself to a love interest if that's not something that you want in your mystery. Any relationship your sleuth has can serve as a subplot. So it may be a friendship, or a sibling, or a parent, or a mentor, a rival, an opponent, an ex-spouse, and anybody. It's just anybody. And the relationship fits somewhere between the outer and the inner journey. So it also gives dimension to your character, and you can reveal a lot of your character's traits through how they interact in their relationships with other characters. And then another way to add a plot line to your story is to take a look at the society. And at first, this is going to seem like, well, isn't this part of the setting and not a storyline source? But depending on your story, societal unrest or discord can play a role in deepening your story, especially when those changes impact your sleuth. How does your sleuth interact with the society? This is especially true as you go through the discovery journey where the sleuth enters the victim's world, and oftentimes that victim's world is a world where the sleuth is totally unfamiliar with that world and unfamiliar with the people who populate it, and so he has to make adjustments to the society within the victim's world. So that's another one. And then another plotline that you can use is the power influencer. And this is a character that has influence over your sleuth. This character has their own goals and frustrations and likes and dislikes, and the reader sees this character through the sleuth's eyes, and the sleuth continually throughout your story has to deal with this power influencer. And this influencer can be either an ally or an opponent. So you have lots of ways to play with the relationship your sleuth has with that power influencer. Okay, those are just a few ways that you can expand your story with other stories, but the main point that I want to make today is that subplots add life to your story. So just play around with ideas to create some subplots for your story. Once you've got your mystery storyline figured out, see how you can fit some subplots in there to deepen your reader's connection with your sleuth. And subplots offer ways to add conflict and heighten tension and make your story more engaging. So it's not just, your sleuth interaction with someone who is a suspect, but with other people around the sleuth in their world. So you're broadening the scope of your main character and at the same time making them more interesting to your reader. I mean, it's just like the real world. We don't have just one problem to solve in the real world. I mean, look at your life. I know that's true. Multiple plot lines in your story humanize your story. So they keep your sleuth from being one-dimensional. He's got to interact. He's got relationships. He's got to deal with the society around them or deal with a new subculture within society. And as your protagonist interacts with characters in the subplots, you build an emotional connection with your reader. And just today, I got a note from a reader about Argolicus, and they were asking me, well, how do you come up with this character? And one of the ways is making that character interact with all these different dimensions within the story. So plot lines provide you with ways to reveal your character, and you're creating stories that readers love. That's what we want to do as writers, is create those stories that readers love. So I hope this helps you expand your idea of what you can include in your storyline. It doesn't have to be the murder, the discovery, the suspects, and then getting closer and closer to the perpetrator, you can expand your story. Remember, you have lots of room in your novel to add details, and adding subplots will really help you create more interesting character and a more interesting story. All right, that's it for today. If you like this, please subscribe and hit that little notification bell next to the subscribe button so you'll get notified every time a new episode of Write a Killer Mystery is up. And thank you for watching, and I will see you again next time.